Paco was an ordinary high school student who ran his own YouTube channel and had 700,000 subscribers. This time, Paco asked his classmate named Rumi to take part in his broadcast. Rumi also ran her own YouTube channel, where she posted videos on various cosmetics and makeup. During the broadcast, Paco asked Rumi to show viewers how she can do makeup. Then Paco showed the audience his classmate Haben, who was given makeup by Rumi. Viewers looked at Haben's makeup and began writing comments in the chat making fun of Haben's image. At that moment, while Paco and Rumi continued to film Haben's face, Haben himself thought that Paco could give him money for his participation in the broadcast. After that, Paco asked Haben to smile and greet the viewers and subscribers of his channel. Haben then looked at the camera with a wry smile on his face and greeted the audience with Paco. After that, Paco said goodbye to the audience and said that he would soon hold a draw for one computer among the subscribers of his channel. After Paco and Rumi finished the broadcast, Haben immediately ran to the toilet to wash off all his makeup. However, Haben found it very difficult to remove the makeup from his face as Rumi applied special leave-in makeup to him. Haben had a very hard time at school, as he was not particularly successful in sports or academics. Paco's channel had approximately 700,000 subscribers and he could easily make money from his channel. Rumi also made money from YouTube, because of her attractive appearance, people actively watched her videos and subscribed to her. However, despite how poorly Haben's classmates treated him, Haben was unwilling to accept this fact as it made him feel even more pathetic. A few minutes later, Haben returned back to his class with a clean face. As soon as Haben entered the classroom, one of his classmates immediately attacked him, feet first. This classmate turned out to be Jiho, who was a cameraman and Paco's right-hand man. Jiho said that he really didn't like the way Haben looked at the camera when Jiho was filming Paco's broadcast. Then Jiho felt that he should teach Haben a lesson, after which Jiho began to beat Haben severely. After Jiho stopped beating Haben looked at Jiho and thought that he was fighting disgustingly. Then Jiho began to sarcastically pretend that he was extremely frightened by Haben's menacing gaze. Even though Jiho was also no different from Haben, Jiho still became part of the team since he was Paco's personal cameraman. Haben also believed that, if necessary, Paco would be ready to stand up for his operator. At this moment, Rumi thanked Paco for transferring 300,000 won to her account. Paco told Rumi that he was attractive enough for rich grown men to watch their videos too. Haben was shocked that Rumi received so much money so easily and quickly for appearing in one short video. At that moment, Jiho looked at Paco and said that he would also like to become a blogger and post videos on YouTube. Jiho believed that thanks to his experience in filming videos, he would quickly become a popular and rich blogger. However, Haben looked at Jiho and thought that Jiho would not be popular at all, since recently many people want to make money on YouTube, and even Haben himself was thinking about becoming a blogger. Then Jiho decided to consult Paco about a career as a blogger, and Paco said that in order to make money on YouTube, he needed the bank information of someone from the adults. Jiho is somewhat upset that minors can't make money on YouTube since his mother and father won't give him their bank information and his grandparents have long since passed away. Then Jiho walked up to Haben and asked if his mother was still in bed, since Haben's mother was seriously ill, and Jiho asked Haben for his mother's bank information. Haben was amazed at Jiho's impudence, with which he first beat him in front of the others, and now he is also demanding his mother's bank information. However, at that very moment, Paco told Jiho that he was simply crazy, and that he should apologize to Haben right now. Paco told Jiho that he should have asked if his mother was alive, not that she was dead. Jiho then said that everyone who just laughed at his words should also apologize to Haben. Haben was under a lot of emotional stress, and he felt like he had to kick Jiho's ass. After classes, Koban came to the hospital, where his mother was in extremely poor condition. Koban's mother told him that she was already getting better and that she could soon go home, but Koban understood that his mother was deceiving her son so as not to worry him again. Haben told his mother that everything was fine at home, but Haben's mother was concerned that he would have to pay a large rent bill. A little later, Koban's mother noticed many wounds on her son's face, and she believed that Koban had gotten into a fight with someone. However, Haben only smiled and told his mother that he did not fight with anyone, since he was not the type to get into fights. After that, Haben's mother gave her son 300,000 won for various household expenses. Haben was very upset that people like Paco and Rumi could get 300,000 won for one school break, while he received the same amount of money per week during his part-time job. After visiting his mother in the hospital, Haben went to work at a fast food restaurant. While working, Haben only thought that he had to pay more than 1,000,000 won for various bills, loans, and medical services for his mother. At this moment, Haben was especially offended that Rumi so easily received 300,000 won for one short video, while he receives the same money for a week of hard work. Working with Haben in this restaurant was a girl named Choi Bomi, who Haben really liked. This time, Bomi wanted to ask Haben where the beef cutlets were, and Haben told her that they were deep in the refrigerator. At the same moment, several more guys who worked in this restaurant began to offer Bomi their help. At this point, Haben immediately became embarrassed as he was very happy that he had at least talked to Bomi a little. Bomi was the main star of this restaurant, as her good nature and sincere smile immediately made everyone happy. At that moment, Paco came to the restaurant, who was again broadcasting another broadcast on his channel. Jiho also came with Paco, and Paco said that today he decided to arrange an interesting challenge. At this moment, Haben immediately hid under the cash register, as he did not want Pango to find out that he was working here. At this point, Paco informed his viewers that his challenge today was related to one of the girls working here, after which he pointed to Bomi. Afterwards, Paco showed Bomi to his viewers, while Haben did not understand how Bomi could be related to Paco's challenge. Paco took out a picture of one of the restaurant's burgers and told Bomi that if she couldn't make the exact same burger in 30 seconds, she would have to give Paco her phone number. Bomi told Paco that it was almost impossible to cook such a burger in 30 seconds because it had so many ingredients. Paco deliberately hid his face from the camera, and he told Bomi that if she just gave him her phone number, he would stop filming and invite her to some cafe for a cup of coffee. Meanwhile, the rest of the kitchen staff began to condemn Paco's actions since they also wanted Bomi's number. Within a couple of seconds, someone handed me the same burger, which was very similar to the one in the picture. Paco and Bomi were extremely surprised that one of the workers was still able to make exactly the same burger. This same employee turned out to be Haben, and he told Paco that there were many more people behind him who also wanted to place an order. After that, Haben walked away from the cash register, thinking that he had done a very cool thing. After a couple of seconds, the rest of the restaurant workers told Haben that it was cool, but Haben only thought that tomorrow he would be finished at school. After work, Haben returned home and he decided to make ramen for dinner. Meanwhile, Jiho created his own YouTube channel, where he planned to show his viewers how he played computer games. As a result, Haben not only gave Jiho his mother's bank information, but also allowed him to broadcast his game in his home. At that moment, one of the viewers told Jiho that if he got 30 kills in the game, he would give him 300,000 won. And Haben hoped that Jiho would not broadcast on his channel every day. When Jiho got 10 kills in the game, Haben thought that Jiho would share some of the money with him since he allowed Jiho to use his mother's bank information. When Jiho scored 20 kills in the game, Haben decided to take him some ramen to try to appease him a little. However, on the way, Koban accidentally touched one of the wires with his foot, causing Koban to stumble and begin to fall. Jiho was extremely focused and concentrated, as he only had to commit a couple of murders to get 300,000 won. However, when Jiho was left to kill the last enemy in the game, the monitor immediately showed, and Jiho could not continue the game. Then Jiho began to look to the sides to understand why the monitor stopped working. Then Jiho saw Haben falling towards him and a bowl of hot ramen flying into his face. A second later, a bowl of ramen flew straight into Jiho's face, causing him to immediately fall out of his chair. Haben immediately began to apologize to Jiho, but Jiho had already started kicking Haben. Jiho couldn't stop blaming Haben for missing out on his opportunity to get 300,000 won. At one point, Jiho really touched Haben's heart by telling him that it was because of him that his mother was now in the hospital with cancer. Suddenly, Haben could not stand Jiho's bullying, and then Haben threw the ramen lying on the floor right in Jiho's face, until Jiho couldn't see because of the ramen on his face, and Haben immediately punched Jiho right in the face. This was the first time Haben hit someone, and Jiho became his first serious opponent. However, Haben's punch was not strong enough to completely disable Jiho, and Jiho then punched Haben in the face as well. Soon a fight between Haben and Jiho began, during which Habin's things began to fly all over the house in different directions. Towards nightfall, Habin and Jiho's fight ended, and after it, Jiho simply left Habin's apartment, leaving a serious mess behind the fight. At this moment, Habin was sitting near the wall, and he noticed that during the fight he did not feel any pain. However, after a while, he felt severe pain throughout his body. After a couple of minutes, Habin looked at all the mess Jihun left behind and he didn't understand how he was supposed to clean it all up. Then Kobin decided not to clean the apartment, after which he went to sleep right on the floor. Before Habin fell asleep, he decided to first turn off the electricity in the house. For some time, Habin could not sleep properly, as he considered himself extremely pathetic due to the fact that due to lack of money he had to save electricity in the house. The next morning, Habin woke up when the phone next to his head suddenly started ringing before his alarm. Habin woke up and wondered who called him, since usually no one calls him, and then Habin answered the call. As soon as Habin answered the call, Jiho immediately started shouting at him, who called Habin. Jiho demanded that Habin delete some video as soon as possible. While Jiho was looking for Habin's house, he said that a video of their fight yesterday was uploaded to YouTube. Habin didn't understand how the video of their fight yesterday could end up on YouTube if Habin accidentally pulled out the computer cord yesterday. After that, Habin took a closer look and noticed that this cord was not from the computer itself. Taking a closer look, Habin found out that the cord he accidentally pulled out of the outlet was from the monitor. Suddenly, Habin heard Jiho suddenly start crying on the phone. Jiho said that because the computer was not unplugged, the camera on the monitor recorded their entire fight on video, after which the video was uploaded to YouTube. Jiho said that even though the monitor was turned off, the camera was still running and people on the broadcast were watching their fight in real time. Jiho also said that because he was broadcasting from Habin's mom's account, he couldn't delete the video, and he asked Habin to delete the video of their fight yesterday. However, Habin said that there could not be any video of their fight on YouTube, as Habin did not upload any video. Habin also said that he even turned off all the electricity in the house last night, which should have turned off the computer as well. Jiho told Habin that if the computer turns off during the broadcast, YouTube will automatically upload the video to the internet. Habin couldn't believe Jiho that YouTube had such protection against power outages, and he decided to make sure for himself that there was no video of their fight on YouTube. However, as soon as Habin went to YouTube, he immediately saw a video of his fight with Jiho yesterday in the recommendations feed. Kobin noticed that there were a lot of comments under the video in different languages, from which Kobin concluded that this video had already been watched by people all over the world. Habin was very upset, as he believed that from an ordinary local fool he had turned into a famous idiot. Habin then felt that he really needed to delete the video, but he also felt that it was too late to do anything about it. At this moment, Habin received a notification that if his channel has monetization, then he can receive money for views of his videos, and that for one view, Habin will receive 1 won. Then Habin decided to first find out how many views his video had received in order to find out how much money he could get. Habin looked at the view counter under his video, and saw that the video had over 10 million views overnight. Habin was shocked when he realized that he could get over 10 million won for this video. The next day, all of Habin and Jiho's classmates watched the video of their fight, and they believed that it was simply a shame not only for the entire school, but also for the whole of Korea. Also, Habin and Jiho's classmates believed that after this video they were unlikely to come to school today. However, Jiho still came to school, despite widespread ridicule from his peers, who jokingly began calling Jiho a YouTube star. Jiho looked at the faces of his classmates, and realized that they had probably already watched the video of his fight with Habin, and he believed that now he would also be picked on. Jiho was afraid that after everything he had done for Paco, he would become another target for ridicule and bullying. Jiho then decided that he must restore his reputation as soon as possible, and then he decided to attack one of the weakest students in the class. Jiho immediately walked up to his classmate and hit him on the head, causing him to hit his head on the desk. However, the classmate was not taken aback, and he immediately hit Jiho in the face with all his might. After a couple of seconds, Jiho fell to the floor, and the fat classmate continued to hit Jiho, shouting various anime phrases in Japanese. The fat classmate did not stop hitting Jiho, and with every second his blows became stronger. Jiho then tried to call Paco for help to help him defend himself from his angry classmate. However, Paco still continued to sit in place, and watch as his fat classmate continued to beat Jiho. Paco not only did nothing to help Jiho, but also laughed loudly as Jiho received more and more blows. It was at this moment that Jiho realized that everything he had done to become part of society was in vain. Meanwhile, Haben went to the hospital where his mother was being treated and was given a bill for 1.5 million won for his mother's medical services. The girl in the reception room looked at Haben, and at one moment she felt sorry for Haben, since she could not imagine how Haben was going to pay such a large debt. The girl at the reception saw how much Haben was trembling, and at one moment she just wanted to take on the payment of this large bill in order to somehow help Haben. However, within a second, Coben took out several bills from his pocket and told the girl at the reception that this money would be enough to pay his bill. The girl at the reception was amazed that a guy like Haben was still able to pay such a large sum. For that video of Haben and Jiho fighting, Haben received over 10 million won. With each passing hour, the number of people who watched the video of Haben and Jiho fighting continued to grow rapidly. Also, Haben was not at all worried about what people would think about him, since Haben was already a victim of bullying from his classmates, and he had already stopped thinking about what people would say about him. While Haben was watching the number of views on his video grow, someone punched him right in the face. It was Jiho, who was furious that Haben got a lot of money because of this video. At the same time, Jiho began to cry loudly and claimed that because of this video, all his classmates began to laugh at him. Jiho then grabbed Haben and began demanding that he share the money with him since he was also in the video. However, Haben was not going to share his money with Jiho, and then Haben hit Jiho between the legs as hard as possible. At this point, Haben and Jiho got into a fight on the street, and Haben said that he would not share the money because Jiho was using Haben's mother's bank information. The fight soon ended and Haben began to console Jiho and apologize to him for hitting him between the legs so hard. However, despite all his pity for Jiho, Haben still insisted that he would not share his money, and he believed that now Jiho's school life would become just as lousy. After a couple of seconds, Jiho calmed down, took out his phone and handed it to Haben. Haben saw a video on Jiho's phone of him fighting with him in front of passers-by. Jiho also said that despite the fact that the filming was ongoing, the angle and quality of the video was good enough that Haben's face could be seen in it. Haben believed that Jiho wanted to upload this video to YouTube, and Jiho confirmed his guesses. But despite this, Jiho claimed that even if he uploaded this video to YouTube, no one would watch it, and everyone would think that it was a staged fight. Then Haben realized that Jiho deliberately arranged this fight in order to later advance on YouTube through a joint video. At this point, Jiho told Haben that he had a plan whereby they could make a video together that would help them get even more money. Then Jiho stood in front of Haben, extended his hand and invited him to work together as a team. Jiho told Haben that right now he was giving him the opportunity to make a lot of money for one video. Jiho also tried to convince Haben that their video together would give them 2 times more money than their previous video. In addition, Jiho told Haben that they should reconsider since Haben still did not have his tax returns. Jiho told Haben that it was very difficult to create a video that could bring in a lot of views and money, since everything had to be planned and prioritized correctly. Jiho also said that it was thanks to his backbreaking work that Paco was able to gain 700,000 subscribers, and that now he is ready to help Haben. Jiho also told Haben that he only needed the main character of the channel, and in that case they could earn a lot of money. After Jiho voiced his proposal to Haben, he extended his hand to him, hoping that Haben would agree to work with him. In fact, Jiho was going to arrange everything in such a way as to get as much money as possible due to Haben's popularity. At this point, Haben wanted to know from Jiho exactly how they would divide the money they received. Jiho then looked at Haben with a serious face and told him that he would receive 90% of all the money received, while Haben would receive the remaining 10%. Haben extended his hand to Jiho, and Jiho felt that he would actually be willing to work under such conditions. However, after a second, Haben gave Jiho the middle finger and said that he would not work with him. Jiho didn't expect Haben to think of refusing him on his terms, and Haben said that he wouldn't put any effort into making Jiho take most of the money for himself so easily. Haben then told Jiho that he would rather continue working at the fast food restaurant than work with Jiho. Jiho realized that without Haben he wouldn't be able to make popular videos, and he told Haben that then Haben would get 40% of all the money, while Jiho would keep 60% of all the money. However, Haben did not react in any way to Jiho's proposals, and then he suggested that Haben keep 80% of all the money for himself, giving the remaining 20% to Jiho. Jiho then realized that he was in a bind and he told Haben that he would get 90% of all the money and Jiho would only get 10%. Hearing such a lucrative offer, Haben looked at Jiho with a smile and asked him what he should do. At this point, Jiho was somewhat angry because he didn't like the fact that Haben wasn't as stupid as he expected. After a couple of seconds, Jiho told Haben that their first goal would be to broadcast Paco, with which they could attract new subscribers to their channel. The next day, Haben and Jiho came to school, and Paco decided to take advantage of this, and then he started filming a broadcast featuring Haben and Jiho. Despite this, Haben and Jiho understood that Paco wanted to increase the views of his videos by having them appear in his videos. After a second, Paco told Haben and Jiho to greet the audience, and then Haben and Jiho actually greeted Paco's audience. While Paco was distracted by his audience, Jiho asked Haben when he was going to carry out their plan, and Haben said that very soon he would do what they agreed on. At that moment, Haben looked at Paco and thought that right now he would change his life. Paco was already finishing his broadcast, and he told his viewers that very soon he would be giving away a new laptop among the subscribers of his channel. At that very moment, Haben told Paco's viewers that he was deceiving them, and that he was not going to pull any pranks. Haben also told Paco viewers that he only behaved so decently in front of the camera, while in life he was an extremely disgusting and unpleasant person. After this, Haben took off his t-shirt and told Paco's viewers that he was the one who left all these noticeable bruises and wounds on his body, and that a video with such evidence was on his YouTube channel. Meanwhile, the classmates looked at Haben with Paco and thought that Paco was very angry at Haben because of his behavior. At this moment, Jiho was thinking that now part of Paco's audience would switch to their channel, and then they would become new subscribers. At one point, Paco's evil expression showed a creepy smile, and Paco asked Haben how he dared to act like that. Paco then showed Haben his switched-off phone and said that it was dead and that his viewers didn't hear what Haben told them. After that, Paco swung his hand and hit Haben on the cheek with all his strength. Paco believed that Haben wanted to set him up, and he then proceeded to beat Haben. The rest of the classmates decided not to interfere in the conflict, and then they simply continued to watch as Paco continued to beat Haben. At one point, Paco looked at Jiho briefly, which scared him somewhat, and Jiho hoped that Paco would stop looking at him. In fact, Jiho managed to launch his broadcast on YouTube, where he showed how Paco continued to beat Haben. Viewers couldn't stop writing angry comments about Paco, causing many to unfollow Paco while Haben and Jiho's channel began to grow in subscribers. A couple of minutes later, Jiho posted the video on the channel, and almost immediately this video appeared in YouTube recommendations. Jiho also thought that Paco doesn't even have to look at the camera for Jiho to make a good video with him that can get a lot of views. At the same time, Jiho thought that Haben just needed to hold out long enough, because the more hits he received from Paco, the more views he would get. At this moment, Haben looked at Jiho and thought about whether his suffering was worth the money they would receive. Suddenly, unexpectedly for everyone, Haben was not only able to withstand all the blows of Paco, but also stand in a fighting pose, thereby preparing for a fight against Paco. Everyone was amazed at Haben's resilience and fortitude, which only made Paco angrier. Then Paco decided to take off his windbreaker, which made Haben even more scared. However, despite Paco's terrifying appearance, Haben still had no intention of backing down, and he decided to take revenge on Paco for what he said about his mother. Soon, students from other classes also decided to watch how Haben and Paco would fight. At this moment, Jiho's only thought was that Haben shouldn't have tried to intimidate Paco in any way. Then Jiho realized that Haben was not just trying to intimidate Paco, but also to fight back, and this turn of events greatly surprised not only the school students, but also those who watched the broadcast. Jiho then thought that a fight was inevitable, but despite everything, there was not a drop of fear in Haben's eyes. Suddenly Haben noticed that this time no one was going to stop the fight, although in all previous cases someone had to intervene and stop the fight. At that moment, Haben thought that since there were so many people looking at him and Paco, he wouldn't be able to retreat so easily. Haben then looked at Paco and realized that he had virtually no chance against Paco. Haben noticed how thick Paco's neck was and how heavily toned his arms were. Haben believed that with such strong hands, Paco could cripple almost any student at the school.
Y solo entonces el desconocido se dio cuenta del error que había cometido y de que definitivamente no había excusa para él, porque no había forma ni siquiera de matar a este hombre.
Then Haben remembered how in American films, during a fight, one of the participants attacks his opponent, which gave some temporary tactical advantage in the fight. Out of fear, Haben began to think of ways he could try to avoid a fight, ranging from simply apologizing to Paco to turning back time. Suddenly Paco told Haben that it was because of him that his mother ended up in the hospital with cancer. These words made Haben very angry, and then he immediately decided to attack Paco, hoping that he would be able to knock him down. However, Haben actually failed to cause any harm to Paco. Jiho and the rest of his classmates couldn't believe that Haben actually tried to attack Paco, and such an unsuccessful attempt made the viewers of the broadcast laugh a lot. Jiho then told Haben that he was an idiot for hoping that he could defeat Paco so easily. Despite the unsuccessful attack, Paco was still somewhat surprised that Haben had the courage to attack him despite the obvious difference in their physiques. After that, Paco leisurely grabbed Haben by the pants, lifted Haben and held him down with his back at a height of almost 1.5 meters. A second later, Paco threw Haben head down and told him that since his mother was now in the hospital, he would help Haben be in the same room with his mother. Everyone was sorry to look at Kobin, and everyone believed that after such a fall, Kobin would definitely not be able to get back to his feet on his own. Jiho couldn't bear to watch Haben suffer, so he decided to simply not watch the fight while viewers continued to write comments expressing pity for Haben. At that moment, Haben realized that if there wasn't such a big difference in his weight and Paco's weight, then he would have a better chance of knocking Paco down. Then Haben remembered his recent fight with Jiho, but at that time they were just fooling around. But the current situation became more and more serious and dangerous for Haben. A couple of seconds later, Paco was already standing over Haben, who said that their fight was not over yet. Paco then sat on Haben and prepared to continue beating Haben to a pulp. Paco swung his hand and prepared to hit Haben in the face as hard as possible. However, moments before the impact, one of the students, who was simply lying head down on his desk, demanded that his classmates be quiet as he was trying to get some sleep. However, Paco was only rude to his classmate and told him that if he wanted to sleep, then he should go home. This classmate turned out to be Moon-sung Kim, who was the most important in the class and one of the strongest students in the school. Moon-sung raised his head, looked at Paco and demanded that he repeat what he told him right now. Paco was very scared, and then he began to try to justify himself to Moon-sung that he did not mean what he said. Moon-sung then told Paco to watch his speech next time and not to hear such rude remarks from him again. After that, Paco stood up in front of Moon-sung and began to mumble something that sounded like he was trying to apologize to Moon-sung. At that moment, Haben saw Paco truly afraid of someone for the first time. Haben was also very surprised by how Moon-sung was able to scare Paco with just a few words. After Paco apologized to Moon-sung, Moon-sung lay down on his desk again, trying to sleep. All the classmates and viewers of the broadcast were shocked by how easily Moon-sung was able to stop Paco and scare him. Jiho once heard that Moon-sung trained with professional fighters, which was only confirmed by his such a large and strong physique. After Moon-sung sat down at his desk again, Paco approached several of his friends and invited them to go smoke together. A minute later, everyone left the classroom, and only Jiho remained in the classroom with Haben. Jiho thought that even though Haben couldn't defeat Paco, he still gained a lot of new followers. Jiho showed the broadcast viewers Haben lying on the floor, and viewers began to express their respect for Haben in the comments. In the evening, Paco returned home, and the first thing he did was put his phone on charge. Paco thought that he was very lucky that his phone died at the very moment when Haben was trying to set him up. Paco couldn't even believe that Haben actually wanted to set him up. After Paco charged his phone, he noticed that during this time a lot of messages came to his phone. When Paco turned on his phone, he saw that he had received more than 300 messages, and everyone wanted to know if this was the fight that everyone was talking about now. Paco did not understand what truth these people were talking about him, and he decided to find out what really happened. Going to YouTube and seeing the recommendation feed, Paco was shocked that the video of his fight today was somehow uploaded to YouTube. Meanwhile, Haben had already returned home and began to take a shower, using a regular garden hose. In his heart, Haben thought that it was Paco and his campaign who decided that he would be the main loser in the class. But despite this, Coben looked at himself in the mirror and believed that now no one would consider him a loser. Meanwhile, the video of Paco beating Haben became one of the most popular videos uploaded on YouTube recently, and the video began to gain more views with each passing second. One of the reasons why this video became so popular was due to various internet groups sharing a link to a video where one of the class leaders begins to beat a defenseless classmate. Thanks to this video, more than 42,000 people have subscribed to Coben's channel over the past 24 hours. Paco was furious that all his subscribers had already watched the video of his fight with Haben, but Haben himself was not going to stop there. After school, Jiho told Haben that even though his videos get a lot of views, there must be one requirement for their videos. Jiho then told Haben that the channel's videos must be longer, but Haben didn't understand how the length of the video would affect their earnings. Then Jiho explained to Haben that the video of their fight was very long, and thanks to this, YouTube inserted a lot of advertising into this video, which brought Haben so much money. Jiho told Haben that in order for a video to have an advertisement, the video must be longer than 3 minutes. But Haben doesn't know how to fight, which will prevent his videos from being that long. Jiho then told Haben that their fighting videos get a lot of views, but if they last less than 3 minutes, sooner or later viewers will get tired of it and stop watching their videos. Haben then realized that he urgently needed to learn how to fight, since at the moment, he could not last in a fight long enough for people to continue watching his videos. At first, Haben thought that he needed to start visiting a nearby gym, but he felt that in the gym he would not be able to achieve the desired results in the shortest possible time. Then Coben decided to try searching on the internet for ways to learn how to fight on his own. At first, Coben spent a couple of hours looking for advice on various sites and forums, but he did not find any useful and effective advice on these forums. Then Coben decided to do some video lessons on YouTube. The first video he found was a video on combat aerobics lessons, which was filmed by one scary woman of 45 years of age. Coben was looking for useful videos for a long time, but among all these videos there were no ones that would teach real combat. At one point, Haben decided that he would most likely be learning how to fight alone, and he decided that he should look for training videos of self-taught fighters. Then Coben decided to look for videos of self-taught fighters, but Coben forgot that at first he wrote the names of various channels in English into the search engine. Because Haben forgot to change the input language on his keyboard, he accidentally entered a non-existent word that looked more like a random string of characters. Only a second later did Coben notice that he was typing in English, but YouTube still gave Coben a link to a real channel with such a strange name. Haben went to this channel and noticed that not a single person was subscribed to this channel. Haben figured it was just a regular user profile that probably didn't have any videos uploaded. However, when Haben decided to check out this channel, he was surprised that there were several videos on this channel that were filmed in some empty gym 5 years ago. Haben believed that the author of these videos was a somewhat strange person, since he did not understand why he needed to upload videos to his channel that no one watched. Haben was somewhat surprised by the fact that almost all the videos on this channel were dedicated to learning how to fight alone, and then Haben decided to watch one random video on this channel. When Haben turned on one of the videos, he saw on the screen a man dressed in a karateka costume, and with a rooster mask on his head. This man introduced himself as a fighting chicken, and he said that in his videos he would teach his viewers fighting techniques at home, alone and without any health risks. The fighting chicken said that his channel is intended for those who are no longer going to accept defeat in the next battle and for those who want to preserve their honor and dignity. After this, the fighting chicken said that before he teaches the viewer new fighting techniques, he must remind him of what a person's mindset should be during a fight. The fighting chicken said that during a fight, a person should be able to control his emotions and never succumb to the provocations of his opponent. The fighting chicken also said that if a person is too emotional during a fight, then it is the emotions that will control the person, which can lead to dire consequences. The fighting chicken believed that if a person took his advice seriously, it would be much easier for him to understand the actions of his opponent and defeat him. After the fighting chicken finished his introduction, he said that in this video, he will teach his viewers how to take any blows without feeling pain. Coben considered that this channel and all the videos on it were ordinary nonsense that he should not pay attention to. Coben also believed that this channel was another scam, since if these videos were useful to someone, then any idiot could have learned to fight a long time ago. After a couple of seconds, Coben decided not to watch the video and start getting ready to go to work. Meanwhile, Paco went outside to try to shoot another video for his channel. Paco approached 3 pretty girls on the street and asked them to participate in his interview. However, Paco was angry that these girls recognized him from the video of him beating Haben, and Paco felt that if he didn't take action, it might end badly for him. The next day, Paco launched another broadcast in which he repented for beating Haben, and the audience already decided that Paco really regretted his action. However, during this broadcast, Paco's cameraman forgot to turn off the camera, and then Paco accidentally showed his true colors again, and Paco's viewers began to hate him again. In an attempt to regain his reputation, Paco began making fake videos of himself doing charity work, giving people money and other good-natured things. However, Paco's viewers soon realized that all of his videos were completely staged. Under one of Paco's videos, one of the viewers asked Paco to show the checks that Paco was supposed to receive from a charitable foundation, but instead of showing the checks, Paco simply insulted the viewer. The number of subscribers on Paco's channel was decreasing so quickly that someone even created a special website that counted the number of people who had already unsubscribed from Paco's channel. Then Paco began broadcasting in which he simply walked down the street looking for support from passers-by. But people either ignored Paco or insulted him. While Paco was losing his audience, more and more people began to subscribe to Haben's channel. Soon, Haben changed the name and design of his channel, and over time, the number of his subscribers grew, and these people expected more new videos from Haben. Soon Koben gained a large audience, and one day Koben came to work to quit. Haben's boss was perplexed when Haben informed him that he was no longer going to the restaurant. Haben believed he needed more money to continue paying for his mother's treatment. Meanwhile, the girls who worked in the same restaurant began to discuss Haben's dismissal. Suddenly Bomi accidentally heard this news from other girls in the locker room. Bomi also learned that Haben now plans to make money on YouTube. The girls also discussed the recent broadcast on Koben's channel, where he took off his outerwear. The girls were amazed at how skinny Haben was, and they believed that Haben was planning to continue making exposes on other bloggers. Meanwhile, the guys that Haben worked with in the same kitchen began to tease and laugh at Haben in every possible way. In fact, Haben expected a similar reaction from the guys he worked with, but he still felt a little embarrassed. The boss believed that Haben wanted to quit because of his popularity on YouTube, which he had so easily achieved. Then the boss jokingly said that even if Koben could so easily become a popular blogger, then he would also be able to become popular. Koben was very angry at his boss's words, since he couldn't even imagine what life difficulties he had to endure to gain such popularity. At that moment Bomi walked up to the cash register, where the boss was standing, and she said that Haben did a very cool thing. Bomi also said that she had no idea that Paco could be such a bastard, and she thanked Haben for showing Paco's true nature. Afterwards, Bomi approached Haben with a phone in his hand, and she asked him to give her his phone number. All the workers, along with the boss, were shocked that the most beautiful girl in the restaurant asked for the phone number of such a loser as Koben. Bomi told Haben that if he really wanted to quit, they wouldn't be able to see each other anymore, but they could still text each other. The next day, Haben came to school, and all he did was text with Bomi. Haben still couldn't believe that he was talking to the girl he liked so much. During the correspondence, Koben could not forget the expressions on the faces of his boss and his employees. Herbin could not believe what was happening so much that for a moment he believed that this was some kind of new fraud scheme. Then Haben decided to ask Bomi himself if she was another scammer, to which Bomi replied that she was not, and that Haben seemed very funny to her. At this moment, Jiho suddenly appeared next to Haben, who was somewhat worried about Haben's unhealthy behavior and expression. Haben told Jiho that he was just thinking about new ideas for the video, but Jihani believed Haben since his face was too cheerful. However, Jiho didn't pay attention to Haben's expression, and then Jiho asked him what it was like for him to be a YouTuber with an audience of 100,000 subscribers. Jiho believed that Haben was one of the few who managed to gain such an audience just from a couple of videos, since it would be very difficult for even celebrities to repeat something like that. Then Jiho asked Haben if he could learn to stand in a fight for more than 3 minutes, since Haben had already said that he would like to enroll in a gym, or some kind of fighting section. Haben felt that he shouldn't talk about the Fighting Chicken channel, and he said that he was still thinking about it, which greatly disappointed Jiho. Then Jilo told Koben in a very rude manner that if he didn't get down to business, they would miss the opportunity to make a lot of money on YouTube. Jiho thought that after Haben became famous, he would just hope that he would continue to get paid for these 2 videos. And the naive Haben said that was pretty much what he thought. At this point, Rumi turned to Haben and asked him if he wanted to sleep with her. Haben looked at Rumi and couldn't believe that a girl like Rumi would actually offer him something like that. Then Haben remembered that Rumi also had a lot of subscribers on YouTube, to which Rumi said that the subscribers really wanted to see her sleep with Haben. Haben also remembered that Rumi used to be with Paco, and Rumi said that she didn't really like him that much, and then Haben asked Jiho if he should agree to such proposals. Then Jiho asked Rumi if she could introduce her to one of her friends, hoping so that Jiho would be as lucky as Haben, and from the outside it looked extremely ridiculous and stupid. After some time, an angry Paco entered the classroom, which greatly frightened Haben, Jiho and Rumi. Paco said that it was because of Haben and his fight video that he began to lose his audience. From Paco's emotions, Haben understood that Paco was very angry with him, and that now he found himself in a not very pleasant situation. Then Haben remembered the words of the fighting chicken that the stronger the opponent expresses his emotions, the easier it is to understand his intentions. Paco's anger at Haben grew stronger, and one day Paco began to take off his jacket to prepare for the upcoming fight. Haben also remembered the words of the fighting chicken that if a person is not able to control his emotions during a fight, then these emotions will control the person. Haben concentrated on the situation, took control of his emotions, and successfully dodged Paco's strike. Everyone was shocked that Haben was able to dodge the attack of the enraged Paco. The fact that Haben dodged the blow made Paco even angrier. Angry, Paco continued to blame Haben for causing him to lose his audience. Haben noticed that the situation was beginning to develop exactly as the fighting chicken had described. At this moment, Haben thought that the fighting chicken videos could actually teach him how to fight. At the same moment, Paco prepared to attack Haben again, which greatly frightened him. Haben believed that Paco would beat him anyway, and then Haben felt that he needed to give it his all. Haben then decided to try to take Paco's blow without experiencing pain, despite the fact that he still doesn't know how to do it. At that moment, Paco swung as hard as he could, and in less than a second his fist was next to Haben's face. However, Paco suddenly stopped and decided not to attack Haben, which greatly surprised Haben himself. As it turned out, Jiho was standing behind Haben and was filming everything in order to post another video of Paco beating Haben again. Paco became even more angry, but due to Jiho continuing to film, he could not do anything to either Haben or Jiho. Then Jiho, with a loud mockery in his voice, told Paco that his camera will always be faster than his fists. Jiho also told Paco that if this video ends up on YouTube, he will remain an outcast for the rest of his life, while Haben's audience will grow even faster. Paco continued to just stand there, and after a couple of seconds he told Haben and Jiho that sooner or later they will pay for what they did to him and his reputation. The guys were very scared, and with them Rumi, who didn't even understand what she had done, that Paco began to threaten her. Paco stood still for a couple more seconds, after which he walked out of the classroom alone. After Paco left, Jiho immediately fell to the floor in relief, thinking that Paco could have easily killed him. After a couple of seconds, Jiho asked Haben if he was okay, and he also told Haben that he now owed him. Jiho also told Haben that all this new filming equipment would be considered as work expenses, but Haben no longer listened to Jiho. At this moment, Haben was only thinking about who this fighting chicken really was. After school, Haben went to one of the playgrounds, where he agreed to meet Jiho. Haben wanted to discuss with Jiho their further plan of action, but Jiho was already starting to be very late. Haben believed that if their channel was based on fighting, then they needed to come up with something, since constantly hunting down Paco was not a good strategy. At first, Haben decided that he and Jiho needed to shoot a video according to some kind of scenario, but later Haben decided that he did not want to deceive his audience the same way Paco did. While Horton waited for Jiho, he continued to correspond with Bomi. Haben was incredibly happy that he had been texting with Bomi for 3 days in a row. This time, Bomi wrote to Haben that she did not really like correspondence, and Haben felt that Bomi no longer wanted to communicate with her. Haben then wrote to Bomi that he would no longer write to her, but Bomi explained to Haben that she would like to call him. Haben couldn't believe that Bomi wanted to call him, and then Haben decided not to waste time and call Bomi. At that moment, a guy and a girl appeared on the street and recognized Kobin. The stranger told Haben that he was a big fan of his, which made Haben feel a little awkward. Haben had a hard time accepting the fact that, thanks to his videos, people were actually starting to recognize him. The stranger thought that Haben was able to get a lot of money for his videos, but Haben said that he has not yet received money for his videos. A couple of minutes later, this stranger took Haben into a dark alley, where he began to rob Haben. After a couple of seconds, the stranger's girlfriend also began to search Haben for anything valuable, but they were unable to find anything valuable from Haben. During the robbery, the strangers discussed with each other that Haben was wearing such cheap clothes that they had to guess that he had nothing of value. At that moment, Jiho found himself in the same alley, and he decided to try to stop the robbers. Jiho realized that these robbers were Bangchin high school students who often rob passers-by. Haben was glad that Jiho actually came here to save him from the robbers. However, Haben immediately remembered that Jiho was a bad fighter, and within a couple of seconds the strangers were able to neutralize Jiho. Then the unfamiliar guy told Kobin to give him his phone, and Kobin obediently gave the stranger his phone, since he understood that he was unlikely to be able to somehow influence this situation on his own. The guy told Haben that he would confiscate Haben's phone so that he would not suddenly go to the police. Haben didn't want these people to take his phone because they were going to get all the money Haben could get from his YouTube videos. Haben demanded that the strangers return his phone to him right away, but the strangers did not pay any attention to Haben. Haben also remembered that he still had Bomi's phone number in his phone, which only made him more upset. Then Haben suggested that the strangers take Jiho's phone, which was much more expensive than his phone, but Jiho didn't like this idea at all. When Jiho regained consciousness, Haben immediately began asking Jiho to call the police right away so that these strangers could return his phone to him. However, when Jiho took out his phone, Haben saw that Jiho had been broadcasting from the very beginning. Then Haben thought that Jiho was simply crazy if he thought of starting a broadcast in such a situation. Jiho also said that these guys who had just robbed them were quite well-known personalities in the area, and he believed that they had the opportunity to make a lot of money from them. Jiho believed that if he and Haben made the same video that Jiho filmed during Haben's fight with Paco, then they could make a lot of money. Then Kobin realized that in this case he needed to film how these guys would beat him. Haben, who knew he had no other choice, looked into the camera and told his viewers that they would now start a new broadcast for them. Soon Kobin was able to find the robbers in one of the local karaoke bars, which they often visited. During the conversation, the guy focused his attention on the fact that during the conversation Jiho did not stop broadcasting, but the girl said that she was not at all against filming. Haben also took into account the fact that this guy was right-handed, and Haben believed that this would greatly help him in a fight. The fighting chicken said that if a person knows which hand of the enemy is dominant, then in the future it will not be difficult to fight. Haben also learned from the fighting chicken video that if the opponent is right-handed, he will be more comfortable if the opponent stands to the left of his opponent. The fighting chicken said that in such conditions the enemy would probably want to strike with his right hand. Kobin knew that even if he failed to evade the enemy's attack, he would still have time to at least somehow react to the blow if the opponent was not sufficiently trained. As expected, the guy actually decided to hit Haben with his right hand with his shoulders wide apart to make his blow even stronger. Then Haben decided to try to take the blow in such a way that after the blow he would not feel pain. After the guy hit Haben in the head, Haben actually didn't feel any pain from the blow. The fighting chicken said that the blow gains all its strength only at the end of the movement. Therefore, if a person tries to deliberately expose himself to a blow during a fight, the enemy's blow will be less noticeable. Jiho, along with the broadcast viewers, was shocked that Haben not only withstood such a strong blow, but also deliberately exposed himself to the blow. The guy thought that if Haben was not going to dodge his blows, then he could try to hit Haben even harder. Haben believed that if he deliberately attached his chin to his chest and put his head forward, it would be much easier for him to withstand any blow from his opponent. The fighting chicken also said that if the enemy is also an inexperienced fighter, then it will be more difficult for him to hit a moving target with his fists, and Haben easily dodged the attack. Then Haben considered that the most effective tactic for him would be to try to simultaneously evade and accept without further consequences for him. The fighting chicken also talked about what would happen if one inexperienced fighter encountered another equally inexperienced fighter. Then the fighting chicken said that if a person learns the techniques that he just talked about, then during a fight he will look like a professional boxer. The fighting chicken also said that if a person simply tries to expose his forehead to the blows of his opponent, then he will immediately cease to be afraid of getting hit. Meanwhile, Jiho, the robber's girlfriend, and the audience at the broadcast continued to be amazed at how easily Haben managed to stay confidently on his feet. With each blow, Haben began to feel more and more like a professional and invincible fighter. Thanks to the video of the fighting chicken, Haben learned how to easily and painlessly avoid almost any enemy blow. When the guy finally stopped trying to hit Haben immediately demanded that he return his phone. Haben said that he urgently needed a phone in order to call Bomi as soon as possible. The audience was amazed that Haben was not going to back down in front of this guy who was clearly bigger and stronger than Haben. However, at one point the audience began to wonder why Haben only took all the blows and when he would finally try to hit his opponent. During the fight, the guy noticed the expression on Haben's face, and for a moment it seemed to him that Haben was mentally retarded. At one point, Haben began to think about how he could try to finish the fight. At this point, Haben began to regret that he had not watched any of the fighting chicken videos in which he talked about how to hit his opponent back. Jiho continued to broadcast, and this quickly attracted the girl's attention. Due to the fact that Haben did not even try to somehow hit his opponent in response, the audience slowly began to stop watching the broadcast, as this fight had already begun to seem boring to them. At this moment, Jiho was thinking that the problem with the last video was that the fight between Paco and Haben went too quickly, while now this fight goes on too long and is boring. However, one of the viewers wrote in the chat that Haben had already won this fight. Then Jiho believed that this message was written by Moonsung, who last time stopped Haben's fight with Paco. Then Jiho thought that Moonsung was just joking, since all this time Haben had not struck a single blow to defeat his opponent. To explain his words, Moonsung asked the audience to pay attention to Haben's opponent's fists. Moonsung also said that under the influence of adrenaline, this guy simply did not feel pain in his fists, but when the adrenaline level dropped, he would begin to experience severe pain. Haben's opponent's fists were damaged due to his fists constantly hitting Haben's hard skull. After the guy stopped beating Haben, the level of adrenaline in his body immediately dropped, and within a second he began to experience severe pain in his fists. Jiho then considered that if Haben's opponent really couldn't fight anymore, then Haben really won the fight. However, Jiho later noticed that Haben was also badly injured during the fight, causing a large bruise to appear on his forehead. After the fight, Haben immediately got his phone back and couldn't wait to text Bomi. Haben wanted to ask Bomi if she was awake, but the audience didn't want Haben to write something like that to Bomi, so they started asking Jiho to stop Haben. Jiho was glad that it was finally over and that he and Haben now had even more subscribers, after which Jiho ended the broadcast. Soon another video was released on Kobin's channel, which managed to gain more than 1 million views in just 2 hours. As a result, 4 videos were already uploaded to Kobin's channel, and in total these videos were already able to gain more than 20 million views. After the fight, Haben and Jiho went to a nearby store to convert all their money into cash. Within a couple of seconds, Haben and Jiho began to rejoice that they managed to get 20 million won. Haben also noticed that the amount of money he and Jiho received was slightly higher than the number of views on their videos. Then Jiho again had to explain to Haben that they receive money not only for the number of views on their videos, but also for the advertising that YouTube automatically adds to their videos. Jiho also said that due to the exchange rate of the Korean won, it coincided that 1 won is equal to 1 view. Haben then asked Jiho if they could continue making videos like this, but Jiho said that they were just lucky. Jiho told Haben that they would only receive money from YouTube until monetization was suddenly turned off. Then Jiho picked up an adult magazine and explained to Haben that if violations were found in the video, then they would be turned off from monetization on this video, and then they would not be able to receive money for this video. Jiho said that such violations include excessive violence, debauchery, obscene language and other things. While Haben and Jiho were discussing their future plans for today's video, they saw Rumi near the store where they received the money. Rumi launched another broadcast on her channel, where she walked along the street and talked with her viewers. During the broadcast, Rumi was eating a hot dog, and at one point ketchup from the hot dog fell onto her white shirt. During her broadcast, Rumi saw Haben and Jiho through the windows. Then Rumi thought it would be a great opportunity to broadcast with Haben to attract even more subscribers to her channel. However, Haben and Jiho did not want to participate in Rumi's broadcast, as they were afraid that in this case she could lure their subscribers to her channel. After a few minutes, Haben and Jiho were still able to break away from Rumi. Jiho was glad that Rumi didn't manage to show them on his broadcast and lure all their subscribers to him. After a couple of seconds, Jiho noticed that Haben wasn't listening to him, and that he started looking at the nice tracksuit. Haben couldn't get enough of this costume, and he thought it would be nice if he had one. Haben understood that this suit was far from cheap, and he believed that he could afford to buy such a suit. However, Haben was shocked when he looked at the price tag and learned that the tracksuit cost 1.5 million won. Haben believed that this suit could not cost so much money, since he was sure that similar suits on the local market were 100 times cheaper. Then Haben decided that he and Jiho should not waste their time and money on this suit, and he decided to go home with Jiho. But Jiho was not next to Haben. After a couple of seconds, Haben noticed that Jiho had already bought this expensive tracksuit for 1.5 million won. Haben was amazed at Jiho's expense, since the cost of this suit was equivalent to his monthly salary. Then Jiho turned to face Haben and said that he should have clothes in which he would not be ashamed to go out. After purchasing the tracksuit, Jiho walked over to the display case where the sports shoes were displayed, and Jiho said that he would like to purchase one pair of sports shoes to go with the suit. Haben looked at how easily Jiho bought him such expensive things, and he realized that even if he earned 20 million won, he would still remain the same modest and inconspicuous guy. At that moment, a new message arrived on Kobin's phone, which somewhat surprised Kobin, since usually no one writes to him at such a time. Haben was shocked where he found out who he received the new message from, and what they wrote to him. The next day, Haben went out in his new suit, but because of his new image, he felt very anxious. What particularly bothered Haben was that people looked at him and thought that Haben's new clothes were just another knockoff and not the original brand. While walking, Haben thought that he had not yet taken the price tag off the suit, and that he could still try to return the suit and new sneakers back to the store. Kobin was also very worried that there were so many loving couples walking in this park. Then Haben decided that he needed to calm down as soon as possible, and then Haben launched another broadcast. The moment Haben started broadcasting on his channel, people immediately began to pay attention to him. People recognized Kobin from the same videos where he personally exposes bloggers like Paco. People also noticed what expensive clothes Kobin was wearing when walking down the street, and they thought that Kobin was ready to do anything with his classmates for the sake of money. At this point, Haben became sad that these people were talking about him, since these people did not know what he went through, and viewers began to write messages in the chat to support Haben. At this point, Haben felt a little better and was truly grateful to his viewers for their sincere support. After a couple of seconds, one girl looked in Haben's direction and said that she was a big fan of his. Kobin couldn't believe that this girl was reaching out to him, and the girl said that she really wanted to take a photo with him. However, at that moment, behind Haben stood a tall guy in a business suit and red hair, to whom this girl turned. Haben was a little upset that this girl wasn't actually addressing him, and he also couldn't think about the fact that this guy also had his own YouTube channel. Haben later learned from his viewers that this guy was a certain Jaiwan, who had about 170,000 subscribers.